Good morning, Gamecocks, and happy game day.
Welcome to SGTV's Gamecock Gameday, where we lay down everything you need to know about Gamecock football.
Stay tuned to hear our thoughts on today's matchup against the Vanderbilt Commodores, our Cocky Call question of the week, and South Carolina's second upset win in a row.
All that and more coming up. Welcome to Gamecock Gameday.
Thanks for sticking with us, Gamecocks. I'm Zander Collins.
And I'm Austin McConnell. South Carolina football had a historic win over number 10 Texas A&M last weekend at Williams-Brice Stadium. The Gamecocks steamrolled over the Aggies 44-20, handing them their first SEC loss of the season.
South Carolina started off hot with 2 touchdowns in their first 2 plays thanks to quarterback Lenore Sellers. Sellers rushed 23 yards into the Aggie end zone for the first touchdown of the game and showed off his arm the next play with a 15-yard touchdown pass.
Down by 14 early in the first quarter, Texas A&M is forced to go for 2 field goals due to a strong Carolina defense. The Gamecocks responded with a field goal of their own right before Aggie Amari Daniels was able to break away for a 56-yard touchdown. Soon after, A&M took the lead 20-17 with a 2-yard touchdown pass from freshman quarterback Marcel Reed.
However, South Carolina was able to even out the score right before halftime with another field goal. During the second half, South Carolina completely took over, halting an A&M in their tracks and holding them to 20 points for the remainder of the game. South Carolina added another touchdown to the board on their first possession in the third quarter when Raheem "Rocket" Sanders took off for a 52-yard trip to the end zone.
On their next possession, the Gamecocks brought the score to 30-20 with a 43-yard field goal by Alex Herrera. But a 10-point lead wasn't good enough for the Gamecocks going into the final quarter of the game. With under 4 minutes left to play, Sellers found Joshua Simon for a 57-yard touchdown pass. But the Gamecocks were still not done yet.
Tonka Hemingway sacked Reed, causing him to lose 12 yards and fumble the ball. Gamecock Kyle Kennard was able to recover the ball at the A&M 13, quickly leading to another Rocket Sanders touchdown to end the game. This stellar performance leaves the Gamecocks 3-3 in conference play and is their first win over a top 10 team since 2022.
That was beautiful. That was a beautiful game.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Lenore's played amazing. I loved how Lenore's played. He finally looked like a true quarterback, looked comfortable in the pocket, was making plays, was running people over for first downs. He looked like an absolute unit out there. And it wasn't just his running ability, which we all know he can scramble, he can take off, he's a very quick quarterback, but he really showcased his arm talent too. And on paper, 13 for 27 doesn't look great, but he had a couple touchdown passes. His QBR was 86.4. He did a really good job in the pocket.
Super elusive in the pocket as well. Like, I remember some of those plays, he escaped 3 or 4 guys and was able to get positive yards out of it. But I really want to highlight the defense in this game. I mean, obviously they shut him out in the second half. That's a pretty good stat as well. But you looking at Texas A&M this season, they average upwards of 210 rushing yards per game. Had 144 in this one, same amount as Rocket Sanders, and he had 21 less carries than their whole team. So obviously that's hindered a little bit by the Le'Veon Moss injury, but still, for them to shut them out, keep them playing in a different way than they usually want to play, that's great from the defense.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like every week we're talking about this defense because of how good they are, especially the defensive line. But you mentioned it, Rocket continues to shine. He's looking unstoppable at times, and when we really can't get anything going in the air, we really rely on him. And it's so comforting to have a running back you can fall back on and just be like, we're inside the 20, we're in the red zone, we need to punch this in. Who do we go to? Rocket Sanders. Easy call, makes the offensive coordinator's life a lot easier. I know we're a very run-heavy team, but like I mentioned, just having a good running back with a lot of talent and a big unit in the backfield as well. Both Lenore's and Rocket are just bigger at their position than most others. So very, very good fallback on that kind of talent.
Great game from Joshua Simon, too. 4 receptions, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had that one of felt like upwards of 50 yards where he broke a tackle off the screen pass and even kind of hurdled a dude on his way into the end zone. But yeah, we were talking before, it's for us to win that big against Texas A&M and really only 3 names are very prevalent on the stat sheet, I think that says a lot about our program.
Absolutely, and like I mentioned, getting that passing game going to help out the run game as well, because we can run as much as we want, but teams are going to start blitzing and selling out on the run. And there's only, as good as Rocket is, there's only so many tackles he can break in one play. So having Joshua Simon really step into his own with Lenore's airing it out a lot better than he normally does, that was great to see for the Gamecocks.
Well, there was that one drive where Lenore's ran 5 times in a row, and it just continued to work and ended up trucking a guy, which was awesome to see.
Yeah, he finally looks healthy. He finally looks healthy. I know he had that lingering injury that he sustained in the LSU game. He really kind of missed the whole second half of that game, and we saw Robbie Ashford. But those couple bye weeks have been very crucial for the Gamecocks, and we saw Ole Miss and how poorly that went for Shane Beamer after the bye week, and that's uncharacteristic. Shane Beamer is very good after the bye week, and we saw it this week. Finally, balance is restored. He looked like he had his team rolling. Texas A&M, that's not an easy team to beat. Obviously, they were the best in the SEC, so to get that big win is huge, huge for the Gamecocks.
Absolutely. Now it's time for this week's Cocky Call, straight from the Gamecock gridiron.
What do the Gamecocks have to do to get themselves a bowl game? I've got 2 words. It's plain and simple. Just win. It doesn't matter how you do it at this point. You are 1 away from getting back into postseason play. That was what this season has been about, is recruiting, getting back to the postseason, and getting to a bowl game already helps out recruiting. We've seen how big that win against Texas A&M was. The environment was crazy. We had recruits commit to us this week. We picked up a couple 4 stars, 3 stars as well. So just getting back to postseason play is going to be huge. Don't care how you do it, just win. And it's even better if we can get a couple wins, because no offense to Wofford, but we have Wofford on our schedule still.
Yeah.
But going into Wofford kind of with a free win, quote unquote, is going to be huge, because if we can beat a Vanderbilt or a Missouri the next couple weeks, then we don't have to worry about it. Then we have less to lose. We can go out there and just perform and get to the bowl game.
No, definitely Wofford is definitely the easiest game remaining on our schedule. But yeah, I mean, I think we both went pretty simple on what we think the Gamecocks need to do. I said that they need to stay consistent, and that comes with a lot of different players, a lot of different sides of the ball. First of all, Alex Ferreira had some struggles early in the season, but in the last 2 games hasn't missed a field goal. 2 for 2 at Oklahoma, and then 3 for 3 this last week against A&M. Just keep that going. And Lenore Sellers too. Seems like a month ago when he was coming off that injury at LSU, we were even questioning if he should be the starter. And he's really coming to his own and is playing very, very well, as you mentioned, in the air and on the ground. So I think that if that continues, then we're definitely getting a bowl game. And as well as the defense, like we mentioned, they were very, very, very good last week against Texas A&M. But even in the week before that at Oklahoma, South Carolina was behind in passing yards and rushing yards, but still won that game like handily because of the defense, and specifically Nick Emenwari with 2 picks in that game. But if everything stays the way it is, I mean, bowl game is guaranteed at this point.
Yeah, and you touched on it, and I wanted to bring something up. I'm very glad that they didn't let any of the negative comments get to their head. Not only South Carolina, but the SEC as a whole. This is their sport. College football is their thing. They love it. They're super passionate about it. And I've seen comments on Instagram, X, all that. So I'm just glad Lenoris didn't crawl into a hole and shrivel up and just wait for the season to end. I'm glad he silenced those haters. He really, pardon my French, shut them up.
Yeah.
But he just blocked out all the noise, and Alex Herrera as well. Yeah, I think he's really found his groove. It's great to see.
Yeah, especially as a freshman, being able to be so strong mentally, that's a big part of the game, especially in an SEC school, as you're saying. Very impressed by him on the field and off the field this season.
Absolutely. Stay tuned after the break to hear our thoughts on today's SEC matchup. Welcome back, Gamecocks. Despite beating the number 10 team last week, South Carolina is still looking to break into the top 25 this week as they take on Vanderbilt this evening.
The Gamecocks are looking to get their 3rd SEC road win of the season, something they haven't been able to accomplish since 2011. However, the odds seem to be in their favor, because since 2009, the Gamecocks have won all 15 matchups against the Commodores, including their 47-6 win last year.
Although the Gamecocks aren't the only ones with some impressive wins on their resume this year. The Commodores are 6-3 overall and 3-2 in SEC play. They currently sit at 24 on the AP Top 25 and are also ranked on the USA Today Coaches Poll at number 25.
Their most notable win this year, of course, at Alabama, 40-35. Let's talk about it.
It's a big one. And to be fair, I'm a little nervous. Because Vanderbilt's very good at home. They played Texas down to the wire, only lost by 3, beat the number 1 team in the country in Alabama, another common opponent that South Carolina has with an opponent. So it's hard to size them up, because on paper, I'm confident. But when I kind of just look at how Vanderbilt's played this year, they're just a gritty team, and I'm a little nervous. I'm still confident in the Gamecocks, but there is that lingering anxiety of going into Vanderbilt.
And the scariest thing for me is I thought Alabama even looked good in that game
Yeah.
against them. So
Put up 35.
Yeah, I mean, to put up 40 on Bama is crazy. Specifically, Diego Pavia looked really good in that game. He's looked good all season because I remember the first game of the week being at South Carolina's game, and I saw that Vandy beat Virginia Tech, and I was like, okay, what's going on? Like,
Yeah, this is
who's joking around in the
abnormal,
scoring
yeah.
now? And then the next game they put up 55 against Alcorn, and then it kind of felt like the Vanderbilt we knew. They lost to Georgia State. But then you look at some of the teams that they've beaten since then: Auburn, Alabama, Kentucky, even gave Missouri a game. They didn't win that one, but lost by only 3. Like they look really good, and it's looked a lot different than Vanderbilt teams of past. All-time, Carolina is 29-4, so hopefully they can get that 30th win. But I mean, like you said, it's a little bit scary.
Absolutely, and you mentioned Pavia. We were talking before, and you brought it up that he's a big Johnny Manziel fan, and I mentioned he plays just like him.
Yep.
He's just a gritty guy, and that's what Vanderbilt's built on. That's what both these teams are built on. South Carolina, just pure vibes, pure grit. These guys are just for each other in the locker room, and I think going through the losses has really helped the Gamecocks. Actually, like it sucks to have those 3 losses and be 5-3 rather than 6-2 or 7-1 like we think they could have been, but I think it's good for them to learn. It's good for them to learn. It's good film. And like I said, going into Vandy's going to be tough because they have the common opponents that South Carolina has. They can just look at those game tapes. But it's college football. It's the SEC. Any given Saturday, anybody can win, and we've seen that with Vandy and with South Carolina. So big matchup tonight.
Absolutely.
Before we go, here's our predictions for today's score. You want to go first?
Yes, as I mentioned, 29-4 against Vanderbilt all time. I'm not going to go against the stats. Obviously, I'm going to take the Gamecocks. I think that they're going to be fired up, that Vanderbilt is seen as a team that could be ranked and is ranked. And I think that that's going to fire them up because they have been very, very good this season. Unfortunate to have those 3 losses. I mean, what's stopping them from being a top 15 team in all of college football? I think they've been really good this season. I'm going to take the Gamecocks 31-24. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, as we mentioned earlier. They were able to put 40 up against Bama, so I definitely don't think that we're going to be able to stop them completely. I think Pavia leads a couple good drives, but I think we get it at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Vandy does a great job controlling possession. They are dominating on offense, just holding the ball. They are in no rush, but they do have their share of explosive plays. And then, obviously, like I've mentioned multiple times already, going into Vandy is going to be very tough. They are very good at home. But if our defense stays poised and stays disciplined, no penalties against A&M. I think we had 0 penalties in the first half for the first time all season. That was great to see, and that was a large part of why we beat A&M. So I'm hoping we're not on too much of a high after A&M.
Yeah.
It's great to win.
Obviously.
Great to win. I mean, I got a whole page. Just win.
Just win.
Just win. That's all we need to do. Just don't sleep on Vandy. This is not the Vandy we are used to. 29-4 is great, but it doesn't matter today. Any given college football Saturday. I'm still confident enough to go 31-17 for the Gamecocks, but definitely gonna be a battle. I think it's gonna be close, at least in the first half.
I mean, and need I remind you about the game last season?
Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
Absolutely demolished, but yeah, I think the Gamecocks take it.
Well, that wraps up our show for today. Thanks for tuning in to Gamecock Game Day.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook at SGTV at USC. To keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtv at usc.com. I'm Zander Collins.
And I'm Austin McConnell. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great day, Carolina. Forever to thee.